all these issues that like divide America politically. We got all these political issues. Like every one of them would be solved. Like
Well, that's going into political science, right?
could be. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
I want people. Should I just go in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go
Jump
for it.
right in. Jump right into the deep end.
Um, I I don't understand morality. I don't understand the hype around it. I think people should accept a system of preferences rather than morality. Um, I don't believe in good and evil.
Hmm.
I don't think they exist. I think all that exists is, what you have a greater liking for. And I
Okay.
think that that would create a more harmonious, cohesive society.
Oh, interesting. For preferences, what props up preferences? What holds them? What holds them up?
What holds them up?
Yeah. How do we form them? What do we? How do they get there?
Yeah, they're typically, emergent, natural inclinations.
Hmm. Okay. Like, help me out here. Is it like, does that mean like kind of like a feeling that someone gets and then they kind of get that preference based off that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It emerges primarily from, experiences, external experiences, sometimes internal. Um, but yeah, it's experiences that you have with the world around you, with your surroundings, and then you inadvertently build a system of preference,
Okay.
um, and that system of preference changes all the time. Yeah, it's dynamic, and
Do
whereas you
people
have this, yeah,
do people build their morality based off these preferences?
um, no,
Okay.
morality is just a social construct. Um, Whereas a system of preference is something that is
Okay.
biologically innate.
Okay.
Like the brain, I don't believe the brain can comprehend a good or evil. I don't think that's real. These good and evil is just a social construct. It doesn't actually exist. Um,
Okay.
that's what I personally think. Yeah.
Do you think there could be preferred preferences? That's
Um,
a redundant, but I think you get what I'm saying.
yeah. It's a preference is just a greater liking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously have, you'd obviously rank your system of preferences. You'd have, preferences that you have a much greater liking for than others. Um, and then there are preferences that are non-existent within your system of preferences. So yeah, it's I think it's a much more better alternative.
And when two preferences collide and they disagree with each other, what
Mhm.
in this worldview? I mean, what would you do to sort that out?
Debate and discussion, whichever's more whichever is able to, yield more people on their side to get more people to agree with them. Um,
Hmm.
that's probably the only way. It's discussion, debate, Um,
Hmm.
but I do believe I stress that we need to get away from good and evil because um, I think it's destructive to the human race.
Hmm. Hmm.
How do you define good and evil?
How do I define good and evil?
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, how would you define it?
Uh, me personally, it would probably be something that was stance independent good versus stance independent bad. I think it depends on. I mean, it depends. Your statement was you think we should get away from it, and I'm just trying to
Uh-huh.
know what you mean
Yeah,
by
yeah.
get away.
So
What are we getting away
y-
from?
yeah, yeah. So good is like morally right, and evil is like morally wrong, right? That's like good and evil. Yeah, I'm just saying like we should get away from like this idea of like things are morally good and then things are morally bad. I think that things are just as they are, and they don't have this attribute, that some things are good and that some things are bad. No, it's just that things are just they are, and you have a greater liking for certain things, and there's things that you don't like, and there's things you like. That's really it. Um,
At some point, hold on one second. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
You okay, David?
Yeah, somebody's just putting junk in my chat.
Oh, I see that. Okay.
I got him. Sorry. Okay, but let's say that 100 people have the same preference. I mean, are
okay.
we just doing semantics at this point? That I mean, that things that go with that preference or against that preference would be good versus not good.
No, it's not semantics. Because you are if somebody claims that something is good, um, they believe that it's morally good, right? And that we all should follow it, right? But I think that there is no good, right? It's just that you have a greater liking for something, right? And that's fine. You can have a liking for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's good and that we should all follow it. That's where I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of weird. Because why else would you label something good, morally good, unless you want others to also follow it, right?
How would your life change if we did enact this mindset,
How would our lives change?
or your life?
How would my life change?
Mm-hmm.
No, this is how I view the world. I view as and it's I realize there's less conflict, there's less bickering, there's less animalistic tendencies. There's less factions, there's less I'm right, you're wrong, I should kill you for that. There's more like, oh well, okay, I can see why you're into that, or I can see why you like that, and there's more cohesiveness and harmoniousness than there is divisiveness, and I think that's one of the advantages of having a system of preference.
How have you come to this conclusion that there's, less conflict, less violence?
Well, just look at all the previous religious conflicts, religiously motivated, politically motivated, um, and it all goes back to what they believe is morally right and what's morally wrong. And I think that's dangerous. I think it's dangerous to have a transcendental moral authority, because my transcendental moral authority says this is wrong and you're doing the wrong, so I'm gonna go kill you for that. And it's versus my system of preference, which is like, okay, you like this, but I don't like it, but you like it. I can see why you might like it, and I choose to disagree with it. I don't like it. I can live my own life here, and you can live your life over there, and that's perfectly fine.
I think, generally speaking, I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I think I'm kind of agreeing with you. I would like to know, do you think that someone who has these beliefs of preferences as opposed to, absolute moral authority, can there be conflicts and wars and, bad things happening like that?
No, no, I don't think so.
Really? Hmm.
I can't see a single conflict arising from a system of preference, to be honest.
Let's say
Interesting.
you came across two people who they said that their house is right here. This is my house. Two people arguing saying this is my house. This is my spot. And one person's preferences, they talk about it, and the other person's preferences, you fight about it. What do you do in that
Okay.
situation?
What would I do in that situation? I don't believe that's a moral situation, though. I think that's just like a um communication barrier. Like I'm not. I don't believe that's a moral dilemma. I think that's just people have to have different ways of communicating.
Well, if the other person
Um,
preferred not to get killed or beat up, I mean, that's violating their preference. How do you settle
yeah,
the
but
difference between the two?
um, how would you solve the difference between the two?
Yeah.
One prefers to fight it, one prefers to talk it. I mean, like if somebody's gonna swing at you, you're gonna defend yourself. So it's like, it's just it's just a natural response to it. Um, uh,
I might have a better example.
Yeah,
One
you might.
that's
Go
okay.
for it.
So let's
Go
say
for it.
there's this island, just off the coast of California. Nobody ever spotted it before. It's huge, and nobody ever saw it before. And Canada happened to see it flying over a plane, and it made news. But nobody went to it, and people in the U.S. saw it, it on the news, and they're like, "Whoa, that's cool. Let's go get it." And two people, one from Canada, one from the U.S. They go to this island and they get there at exactly the same time. And they both have, let's say we're 100 years in the future, and we both have this kind of opinion preferences based society. No morality, no moral authority. Could there be a war started over this island?
no, I don't believe so.
No, nobody would get mad. They'd just like talk it out, or what would happen? Paint a picture for me.
It's definitely difficult to predict, but I don't believe there would be conflict.
Hmm.
Because everyone is responsible for their system of preference. Um, they're not taking any external orders, right? Like from a
Mm-hmm.
god or whatever, or like some human moral authority. They're taking it from themselves.
I'm
And so
gonna.
if somebody were to do something like, and like if like let's say they went to the island or they did something, right? I would always just ask them, why? People would naturally ask them, why did you do this, right? And they would say, it's within my system of preference. And then
Okay.
other people would react to that, and they would go, if it's in with the, it's if it's in with the, if it's within their system of preference, others would react to that and go, I don't want that in my system of preference. And that would then further lessen the amount of conflicts, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna put my cards right on the table. I'm gonna tell you my position. That's almost like a sin of street epistemology, using metaphorically, of course. Um, I think there in this island scenario, I think that a potential outcome would be nuclear war and almost everyone's dead. I think that's like a possibility. I mean, that's the nuclear option. I mean, it could be just, a few people get killed or something. And or maybe they could work it out. They could talk it out, right? I think all of those are like possible options. In this scenario, how could we figure out like if this nuclear option, people fighting over it and going crazy, how could we know if that were to happen or if, there really wouldn't be a conflict?
How would we know for sure, for certain?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, Look, there may be some, conflicts at the start, right? But the thing is, this system, as it progresses, um, it will naturally lessen the amount of conflicts. Um, because people will react to these situations and they would say, you know what, I don't want this in the future. And so their system of preference will change. And then over time, you'll have like a more of a harmonious society as a result. So there may be some conflicts at the outset, but over time it'll definitely get more harmonious.
How could we know if it would get more harmonious, or if people might still be greedy and still start conflicts?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas morality, what morality does is it causes people to remain stagnant. Right? Like for example, in Islam, like people believe that they should go out there and wage war and start killing people to this day after 1500 years. So it's like, would you rather have a stagnant system or would you rather have a system that's flexible? People can, obviously there will be conflict, but people are going to react to that and they're going to be like, well, I don't like that, or I don't want that. So they're going to change.
I think I agree with you to an extent. I think not having these moral authorities probably leads to more peace. I'm wondering how we could know if it will lead to as much peace as, as you're suggesting.
Well, you can have a societal level system of preference where,
Sure.
you can have a communal, communal societal level system of preference where people come together and, like, a democracy.
Sure. Yeah, I'm on
Where
board.
they,
I got you.
where they all, say, this 80% prefers this, and then, they go along with that. And the likelihood of that 80% wanting war is very slim because they are aware of the consequences. So
What if they're like 50-50? Is that a possibility?
a possibility of 50-50.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, mathematically, yes. But
This guy knows math. I love it.
realistically, no. I don't think it'll ever be 50-50.
Or split up moderately even, right? Like somewhere in the middle
Moderately
ground.
even.
Yeah, anywhere between
something
40
like
and
what's
60.
happening in America today with the divide between like Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, sure.
Nah. Not anything. Not anything major. Not anything that's foundational. Like,
Really?
the foundational preferences.
So all these
Maybe on, like,
issues, that like divide America politically, we got all these political issues, like every one of them would be solved, like
Well, that's going into political science, right?
Could be, yeah.
No, I think there'll still be I think there'll still be a place for democracy. I still think there'll be a place for some of these existing systems, but no, people will definitely disagree. And I think that's why it's important to have a democracy and things like that. So, and law and order. I believe in law and order. I believe in but I believe
Mhm.
that law and order should be built on a system of preference rather than, oh, God said so.
Yeah, I mean, I dig it.
Yeah, I've kind of I've kind of matured on the idea is that but people who say that God gives morality, it's subjective morality. It's just their God is a subject who has free will and choice in this paradigm, and then God chooses what's good and bad, and it's his preference, and he just has the biggest stick. Like he can hurt the most people, and or he can enforce his rules more than anybody. And really just the shift down from that, if God wasn't a factor, you would just have whoever has the biggest stick on earth. But at least you have a chance for democracy. At least you have a chance to advocate for what people want for prefer for human experiences. We can try to have as much on there. So it's if to me it almost sounds like similar worldviews. Morality is essentially just uh, in line with the preferences of the most powerful. And in that way, God's the most powerful. So whatever He says is morality. That's kind of how I interpret it. Um, but we're a little bit past time here ad nauseum, and I really appreciate you sharing your stuff with us.
Yeah,
Any
no worries.
questions you got for us, or could closing remarks that would be clippable and go viral?
Not really. I just came in and winged it, but um, no, not really. But yeah, thanks for the time, man.
Absolutely, appreciate you coming up.
All right, see ya.